Contained within this metal lunchbox is one of the more weirder Super Nintendo controllers I've ever seen. Not just from outward appearances, but when tearing it down and seeing what they did on the inside of these things, had me scratching my head a little bit. So I wanted to talk about these today. These are the wireless Super Nintendo controllers from Messiah. They are 2.4 gigahertz wireless technology. I find that kind of intriguing for when these came out. So the reason I was interested in checking these out is recently I took a look at the NES arcade stick from Messiah, which is kind of an oddity, a little bit of a rare stick, and it was built very well. I actually really liked it, so it piqued my interest in taking a look at some other things from these guys. So that's where we're at today. Messiah, they're notoriously known for putting out the Generation Next NES clone console back in 2005. They touted it as having 100% compatibility with NES cartridges, it being built from the ground up, a lot of new stuff going on with it. It's going to be the best of the best type of thing to combat all the cheap, crappy clone consoles that were out at the time. Then it turned out their system was just the same as everything else. Nintendo on a chip, had the same compatibility issues, so on and so forth. Did have some interesting things going on for it though. But that's neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about that system today. But in a future video, we will talk about its actual controllers for the Generation Next. You cannot use these on the original system unless you have the very rare wireless adapters that you had to contact the company to buy separately, and I do have those, so we will be testing these out brand new in the box in a future video. Today it's all about the Super Nintendo. So this little lunchbox here comes with two controllers, 2.4 gigahertz. Here's the back of the box. Limited edition, mind you. They only made 5,000 of this set. I have number 676 out of 5,000. I found this odd. I mean, it's just like the NES one they have as well. 360-degree rotating D-pad. That's got me, you know, concerned a bit, right? If you want to go ahead and freeze frame on this, take a look at everything back there. I don't want to read through it all, but let's get right on into it. We're going to test this thing out. So these are getting a little bit more difficult to find. Is it a good option for today? I mean, we do have a lot more as far as wireless controller options for Super Nintendo systems today than we did so many years ago, even when these first came out. From what I understand, these had to have came out. My research, man, I've been digging around as much as I can, you know, going on the Wayback Machine, looking at their website and whatnot, looking at old forum posts. And it seems like these, you know, predated the Generation Next console. These actually came out sometime around 2004 or so, as I did see people claiming that they received these bundles at that time in old posts. But as far as, you know, options today, you know, we have stuff like from 8BitDo, they're 2.4 gigahertz, or Bluetooth. 2.4 gigahertz, I don't know if they just stopped making these, but they're becoming very hard to get. We got stuff from Retrobit, Hyperkin, a lot of cool things out there. I have a lot of videos on that stuff if you want to take a look. But back to this. I found this ridiculous. These guys are just crazy, man. I don't typically read things all the way through, but we have to read this. While some believe gaming has descended into the shadows of despair, secretly desiring more, hope is not lost. The calling has been answered. Messiah is here to deliver an experience so powerful that it will course through your veins with every beat of your heart. Limitless, spreading infectiously, multiplying until it consumes you to the depths of your very soul. The reign of Messiah has begun. Is this like a hostile takeover of the human, like, you know, species, or is this gaming we're talking about? I don't know what the fuck's going on with these guys, but man, okay. All right. So here we go. I did tear these down, man. You're going to be very intrigued by what we find with these things. But here's the controller itself. It's got little butt cheeks. Like, dude, like, look at those cheeks. I like that. It feels good. I could, like, you know, get my my middle finger right in there, right in the crack. It's a comfortable feeling controller, but that's kind of where some things end. This is odd. This is really odd. This pad, this disc, it does rotate 360 degrees. For what purpose? None. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for them to advertise that it rotates, that you could spin it. Like, there's 360 degrees of what? Unless they just mean 360 degrees this way, but it is a rotating disc. Is that what they said on the back of this thing? Rotating. Why? Yeah, they did say rotating. There's no reason to rotate this thing. It doesn't do anything. it registers left, right, up, and down, just like a D-pad. But, you know, it's more, or I mean, it's less comfortable because it rotates and freely in your thumb. I mean, it's kind of strange. Then you have these touch pads in the middle. Turbo, slow, select and start. Very finicky, very finicky. Maybe it's because of the age of these, I don't know, but this stuff is very finicky. Little logo in the middle that glows when it's on. And then our A, B, X, Y, which are very mushy, and there's kind of a reason for that. Same thing with the L and R's. Then on the back, we do have an on and off switch. When you turn it on, the light does glow. And in the back, 2 AAAs is what powers this thing. And then underneath, can't end there, we have channel select, 2.4 gigahertz. We do have 4 different channels to select from for this controller. So there's that. We got one of these out. Let me turn that off so we're not killing the battery. Not sure what the battery life is on these things. So I'd imagine decent though. Here's the other one. One of these looked like it had a lot of play with how it kind of got faded. Maybe Cheeto residue seeped into that. I don't know. But there you go. Both of them are identical other than one looks a little more aged. And then they gave us a dog tag, Messiah dog tag, very thick, just the way she likes it. I guess the hell would anybody want to use with that? But you had to mark yourself that you were part of this movement. You know what I mean? And then underneath, we do get a card to register it, I guess, and then our dongle action. So let me go ahead and get one of these out. Take a look. We don't need both of them. We're only gonna test the one. And we don't need to close that yet. There's still some stuff in there. But there you go. Original port on one end, and then there's the actual dongle, the receiver. It's got some rubber feet on the bottom. Doesn't look bad. Limited edition. Channel select on the bottom there. We'll go ahead and leave it on channel 1. That does plug right into your analog Super NT, your original Super Nintendo, whatever the hell you want to use, right? Now, above this like propaganda, we do have the manual. Let's take a gander at that. So very nice looking manual, I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to go through this whole thing, but it is like a little comic book style thing. Do not call that fucking phone number. I'm telling you right now. My previous video, I called that number, the one where I did on the arcade stick. I called that number. Obviously, this company doesn't exist anymore. Somebody else has it, and it's like some kind of Medicare insurance seller type thing. I don't know. Somebody trying to make money off of assisting people with the healthcare and Medicare. Weird shit. I called them once. These guys call me every single day. Every day they call me back. I don't know what's up with that, but do not call that number. I warned you. I warned you. So there you go. I'm not sure what's going on in that picture, but cool, whatever. A lot of information, man. Okay, you got turbo, programming turbo. Press turbo once, the M will blink, press each button you want to use in turbo, then press the turbo button again. The M will go back to glowing. And then when you do it, the thing like flickers, I guess. There you go. Press the turbo button twice to deactivate turbo, whatever. It's finicky. I've tried using it. It's very finicky. Activating slow-mo. Okay. Press the... Okay, this is like an older version. They had to amend it. Where'd that amended thing go? Like that's... We have 2 buttons up there. We don't have a hotkey for it. This little manual update explains all that, I guess. But we're done with that. We're done with that. So let's go ahead and power on the system here. Get things checked out. So what I want to test here today, real quick, is going to be response. How does this feel? That kind of thing. First up, let me go ahead and zoom up. Try to make sure it's focused on the monitor action a little better. There we go. So a bad D-pad, if you're in the SD2 SNES menu, normally you just hit, you can hit right and it'll go to the bottom, hit left, it'll go to the top. That registers just fine. If it's a really bad D-pad, when you hit down, it'll just jump all the way to the bottom. Same thing with up. This feels extremely sensitive. It's not jumping around though. So it's registering fine for the most part. I just had a jump right there. If you hit diagonal, that's the thing. If you accidentally hit diagonal, it will jump. So just got to be careful with that. This is like a D-pad disc thingy that you just got to get used to, but it registers okay. But let's go ahead and see about testing this controller real quick. But now I just want to show you, how everything responds, since I can't scientifically test lag. But I feel like this responds okay. Hitting up, barely touching it. It registers. Down, left, up, down, right. I mean, oh my God, I'm forgetting my directions. This is the finicky stuff. Select and start. Very finicky touchpads. But everything seems to register fine. And latency doesn't seem to be too much of an issue with this thing. But, I mean, that's kind of where it ends. You really have to get used to this. And the mushiness of this controller is just off the rails. And there is a reason for that. Let's go ahead and test like Street Fighter 2 real quick before we get into the teardown. Because I do want to test my Hadouken Dragon Punch Hurricane Kick action on how this responds. But let's go ahead and just real quick jump into it. Now, I do have to point out, I've been using this a bit, getting used to this weird D-pad, and with a good D-pad, like on a lot of other controllers I've tested out there and original controllers, I could perform, the Hadoukens, the Dragon Punches, 9 times out of 10 type of thing, right? With this, took me a little getting used to, and I'm probably very close to that, like 8 out of 10. But this creaky ass D-pad, my God, it is such a joke. So tearing this thing down, I noticed some very strange things with the way they designed this controller. I don't know how many other controllers have ever used this design. But most Super Nintendo style controllers, they're membrane action. You have the conductive pads on the membranes making contact with the board to register the button presses, that kind of thing. Membranes, sure, they can wear down over time, especially dependent upon the quality of them. But this controller opted to go for a membraneless operation design, whatever you want to say. I'm not a scientist. No membranes in this for nothing. It is all micro switch based, and everything in this controller is using springs. So a membrane, typically you're going to have that conductive pad on there to make contact with the board to register the button press, right? But then also at the same time, the membrane is going to act as a spring. That way it could prop the button right back up, right? Now I'm not going to sit here and argue about membranes versus springs as far as what will last longer, that kind of thing. I do feel both will degrade over time with use, but I do feel the tension of these springs that are used in this controller are pretty damn loose and gives it that spongy feel that a lot of people are just not gonna like. So they went with that, using micro switches for the D-pad, for the buttons, for the shoulder buttons, and then used springs to prop everything back up, including the buttons. The D-pad has a spring in there just to kind of keep it in place, and it just hits that left, right, up and down. Very similar in style to, an arcade style controller, an arcade stick. Arcade sticks are easy to service. You know what I mean? If your micro switch goes bad, if a tension on a spring goes bad, something like this, you're just kind of fucked, to be honest with you. It's just not a very intuitive design, in my opinion. It's odd, it's interesting. It's different from most controllers I've seen. I know there's people out there who have more experience than I do as far as disassembling controllers, working on controllers, that kind of thing. I'd be curious to hear if anybody's seen similar style being used in other systems controllers, third party or not. But yeah, I mean, this thing's just it's kind of strange seeing all that. It works decently well. It's not the worst Super Nintendo controller I've ever used. But in this day and age, I mean, this is, 17, 18 years old as far as when these were first released. So, I mean, at the time, maybe it was pretty cool. Nowadays, though, I mean, I just feel like companies are embracing the original style of the Super Nintendo controller, using membranes that they've learned from the community, like certain designs with those to not make the diagonals, be registering incorrectly, that kind of thing. So a lot of these companies are making some really solid controllers out there. This one, if it was released today, if this controller came out today in this state, it would be very hard to recommend. Is it a collector's piece? I mean, if you collect junk, if you collect weird oddities from your favorite system, sure, why not? In my opinion, it's not one to really seek out. I mean, prices are all over the place on these things. They're no longer manufactured. The company's defunct, that kind of thing. But hey, if you're interested, you could check eBay for these things. I'll have a link down below if you're curious. Really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this one. Strange controller. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Peace out. Give you guys a big ass thumb button. Your face blurry like a Bigfoot. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye and boom.